Let's quickly see one simple recursive code that I have written for you, and then we will see how the code actually works in the memory. Okay, so let's go to the simple recursive code that we have. Okay, so let's quickly see. We have hash include stream, then we have int main, and in the int main what we are doing is we are declaring one variable with name number, and we are initializing that variable with value 4. Then we are writing cout, and then we are calling fact function. Okay, so we are calling fact function. So this fact function is going to be a function which is going to be recursive in nature, and we are going to discuss about fact function in detail, how it is working and what is the logic that we are writing in the fact function. So we all know mathematical factorial function. Okay, so what is factorial function in maths? Whenever we have number, let's say we have a number 4. When we write 4 factorial in maths, what is its answer? The answer of 4 factorial is going to be 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, so usually we define a function in maths by using this thing. I hope you remember your basic mathematical course from the old school. Okay, so we usually define a function using f of x. Now just assume that this f of x is a factorial function. Okay, and let's define this function now. So how we used to define it in mathematics? So we used to define it something like this: f of x is going to be 1 if x is equal to 1. So if my x is 1, then my f of x is going to be 1. If my x is not 1, if it is greater than 1, so in that case what my f of x is going to be? My f of x is going to be x into f of x minus 1. Quite easy, very easy. Okay, f of x is going to be 1 when our x is 1. F of x is going to be x into f of x minus 1 if our x is greater than 1. Okay, so in this way we define the mathematical function. Let's quickly move to the presentation mode and let's see how we can implement this function in C++. Okay, so we have main function. Now in main function we are calling fact function and we are passing number to it as the input. Now what is the body of fact function? So in fact function what we are doing, it is taking one argument, that is number. See, remember the logic or the mathematical expression that I just wrote on the whiteboard. Just remember that I am writing the same function, or I am writing this function accordingly. It's very similar to the logic that I just wrote on the whiteboard. So if my number is 1, in that case we are going to return 1. If the number is not 1, or if the number is greater than 1, in that case what we are going to do? We are going to return number into factorial of number minus 1. That's it. I mean, this is the function to find factorial of a number. Imagine how simple it is. Just 3 lines of code. Just imagine how you write the same function using loop. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Okay, it's not going to be difficult. It is very simple, but it's going to be at least little bit different or difficult as compared to this code. This code is very simple. If you know mathematical definition, then you can write it like this. Okay, so let me quickly revise. We have main function. In the main function we have variable with name number. Then we are calling fact function from the main, and we are passing this number as an input to the fact. Now in fact function what we are doing? We are first checking if the number is equal to 1. If the number is equal to 1, that means the number, or that means it is the base condition of our recursion. Remember from the previous example, we have discussed that whenever we write a recursive code, it is very important to write base condition of the recursion, because if your function code doesn't have base condition, then your function will go in infinite recursive calls. It will be an infinite calls. Okay, that's the reason you should always write a base condition whenever you are writing recursive function. Okay, so in this recursive function also we are writing a base condition. And what is the base condition? Base condition is when your number is going to be 1, we are going to stop the factorial function. So when your number is going to be 1, in that case we are returning 1 as the output of this function. And when your number is going to be greater than 1, or when the number is not going to be 1, in that case what we are returning as the output from this function? In that case we are returning number into fact of number minus 1 as the output from this function. Now number into fact of number minus 1, in this expression fact of number minus 1 needs to be determined, okay, because we don't know its value in advance. So again this is going to be a recursive call to same function with different argument, okay. So let me just move to the next slide where we will understand how this function is actually going to execute, okay. So let's quickly move to how it actually works, okay. Cool. Now you can see on my screen I'm displaying one white color rectangle. So this is my stack memory, okay. So whenever we discuss about the functions, the entire function handling is going to be handled by the stack memory, okay. So we have this white colored stack memory. Now in the stack we will have stack frame of main. So initially the main function will be called, obviously the main function is going to be called, and in the main function we have a variable with name number and its value is 4. Now this main function, what it is doing, it is calling fact function, okay. So the main function is triggering fact function and it is passing argument, that is 4, to the fact function, okay. So the fact function is getting called from the main, and in the argument of the fact function, so the fact is also taking one argument and name of that argument is number. So in that argument 4 is getting copied, okay. So we have call to the fact function, and in the function call, in the arguments we are giving value as 4, okay. Now what this function is going to do, this function is going to return us 4 into fact of 3, okay. So this function is simply going to return us 4 into fact of 3, but can it directly return us, or can it return us quickly the value? Answer is no, because in order to return the value it needs to have answer to fact of 3, and the function, that is fact, when it is called with argument 4 or number equal to 4, it doesn't have answer to fact of 3, and that's the reason this fact of 3, as it is again another function call, this function will again be triggered from the same function. So we will say, or we can say, that it is a recursive call to the fact function. So again another fact function will be called, or fact function will be called, but this time this function will be called with argument as 3. Now what this function is going to do, this function is going to return 3 into fact of 2, but does this function can directly return us the value? Answer is no, because it doesn't know what is the answer of fact of 2, and that's the reason again another fact or another call to fact function will go, and in this call the fact will be called with argument as 2. Now what this function is going to do, it will return 2 into fact of 1. Can it directly return? Answer is no, because it doesn't know what is the answer of fact of 1. So again a call or another call to fact of 1 will go, and in this case the fact of 1 or fact function will get argument as 1. Now when our argument is 1, you will just try to remember the logic that we wrote inside the fact function. If the argument is 1 or if the number is 1, in that case what we are doing, we are returning 1. So in this case this function is going to return 1. Now can it directly return this value? Answer is yes, because 1 is a constant value, so it doesn't need to do any computation on it, so it can directly return the value. Now this return 1, where this will be returned? From the position where it was called. So from where it was called, you can observe here it was called from this location where my current mouse cursor is. It was called from here. So this return value will be or will come over here, okay. So the return value is 1. Now this 1 will come over here. So now we have answer to fact of 1, and you can see now we also have answer of fact of 2, because fact of 2 was returning 2 into fact of 1. So now what it will return? It will return 2 into 1. 2 into 1 is again a constant, that is going to be 2. So now we have got answer to fact of 2. It is 2, right? Now as we have answer to fact of 2, now the fact of 3 will return its value, because fact of 2 has completed its execution. So control will come back to fact of 3 and fact of 3 will return its answer. Now what is its answer? It is going to be 3 into factor of 2. What is value of factor of 2? What is returned by factor of 2? It is 2. So this will return 3 into 2. And finally, factor of 4 will also get value of factor of 3 on which it was dependent. Okay, so as it got value for factor of 3, which is 3 into 2, which is 6. So finally this factor of 4 will return its answer, that is 4 into 6, which is 24. Okay, and finally the main function will get answer of factor of 4 as 24. So I hope you have got the entire idea about how the factorial logic is basically working. So you can see on stack, in stack memory, the stack frames are getting stacked one after another, and each and every function is getting executed, and finally once the base condition gets hit, we are stopping the recursive calls, and finally the recursion is kind of getting terminated, or one after another the recursive calls are getting resolved. Okay, so in this way basic recursion works. So this was about recursion. I hope you have got all the concepts. You are now very clear with the idea about recursion. It's very easy. Now I'm going to take one dedicated programming video on recursion where we will practice some programs on the recursion. So in the programming section of this module, you can find one video where we will practice some programs on recursion topic. So see you in the next videos of this module. Thank you for watching.